My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of 500 Days of Summer. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But I believe I discovered this movie in 2011, and this movie changed my life. Like, it was my first introduction to indie films, but I just thought this movie was brilliant. It was heartbreaking. I hadn't seen Memento or Pulp Fiction by that point, so this was my introduction to non-linear storytelling, and I was blown away. And for a few years there, it was one of my favorite movies ever. But over time, the more I think about this movie, the less I like it. So I just rewatched it for the first time in maybe a decade actually. And it's good. It actually does hold up, but that said, it's not as great as I remember. So let's begin by talking about the cast. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is fantastic. He plays a very flawed character, but he is so charming and funny and likable that you still kind of root for him despite his flaws. Zoe Deschanel can be quite funny and charming, and I thought she did a very good job. Clark Gregg is barely in this movie, but he is still a nice presence to have. Chloe Grace Moretz is great here. She's barely in the movie, and she could have been a forgettable side character, but she really does stand out. And Matthew Gray Gubler, once again, barely in the movie, but I thought he gave his character plenty of personality, and I thought he had his charm and he was funny. And then Geoffrey Arend does a good job as well. So the entire cast is great, and this movie is well directed by Mark Webb. The reality versus expectation scene is every bit as good as I remember it being. The song choice perfect, and the amount of storytelling and character work in like 2 minutes is just phenomenal. It is a heartbreaking scene that I think almost anyone can relate to. Like, I remember one time there was this girl I was into, and one of our mutual friends was getting married, and I remember I went to that wedding with sky high expectations, and the reality was actually hell. So there is some honesty in this scene. I thought the You Make My Dreams Come True dance scene was really great and tells you how Tom views his life as this feel good romantic musical. And I like how this movie is sappy, but it's also cynical. I like how this movie can be feel good, but it can also make you feel bad. I like how this movie is funny, but it's also sad. I think it just strikes that perfect tonal balance, and the non-linear storytelling really does work here. I think it elevates this movie quite a bit, and the soundtrack, to me at least, is one of those iconic indie soundtracks, up there with Garden State. Just every song choice works so perfectly for the scene it's present in. So I do love lots about this movie. But how is the script. This is where I am a bit mixed on the movie, because watching it now, it is very clear what this movie is trying to do. It's about how Tom projects onto Summer. And it's about how Tom is in the friend zone, but he constantly puts himself there. Anytime there's an opportunity for him to be honest about his feelings, he backs down. And he never was as upfront and as honest as he should have been to Summer. So Tom is a very, very flawed character. And that is all incredibly well done. It really is. There's one scene where Tom is looking back on his time with Summer, and the first time he looks back on those memories, she's smiling and laughing and just so happy. But when he looks back more honestly, you could kind of see that there wasn't as much of a spark there as he thought there was. And he wasn't as happy as he remembered himself being. And there's also this scene where Summer is opening up to Tom, and Tom isn't paying attention. He's just thinking about the fact that Summer is opening up to him. So there is some very smart character work on display. My issue is Summer still sucks as well, and I feel like the movie is more forgiving of her than it should be. Because, yes, Tom is flawed, but Summer was giving him mixed signals. She obviously knew how he felt and what he wanted, but she still kissed him by the photocopier. She still had sex with Tom. She and Tom got into a fight because Tom punched this guy at a bar, and Tom is just like, no, I say we're a couple, goddammit, and he's really mad at her and he storms off. He is up front finally in that moment, and what does Summer do? She goes to see him. So she knows what she's doing at this point. It is so clear. And even how she is seeing someone but doesn't tell Tom at the wedding, and she's just like, oh, I wanted to dance. So, like, Summer is a very frustrating character because her and Tom are immature. They're both toxic to a degree, but she seems to be more mean-spirited about it. So does that ruin the movie? No, it does drag the movie down a bit to the point where I'm not fully on board with what Mark Webb is trying to do, but the thing is, the ending is about how Tom was right. Summer does become a romantic by the end. Summer does get married by the end. Her viewpoint on life was wrong. The thing is, it just wasn't Tom who she was meant to be with. And this can be viewed as a movie about falling in love with the wrong person and for the wrong reasons. And on that level, I do think it's good. I wish they leaned into it a bit more, but I do think this movie is a bit more complicated than given credit for. So, oh, and also I hate the autumn ending. It just feels so tacked on. But I do like this movie. I think it's good. I think it makes some very interesting decisions throughout. I think it's very smartly written. I think it's well directed, it's well acted, And I do like the character work on display. And I like how flawed Tom is and how the movie leans into that. I do wish it was a bit more balanced. I do wish the movie looked down on Summer's narcissistic actions a bit more, but there is still plenty to like here, so I'm giving 500 Days of Summer a 7 out of 10. Okay, have you seen 500 Days of Summer? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos soon, and Gavin out.